What's going on? Welcome back to the NFL Quick Talk podcast. As always, follow us on Spotify, subscribe to us on YouTube, and let's get right into the news. The first story of the day, we're going to dive right into training camp injuries. The first one that we'll talk about here is Jalen Ramsey's injury. He is out long term to repair an injured meniscus in his left knee. He is out till late November, early December. That's the timeline. He says that he's going to beat it by a month. Who knows if his words will carry any weight or not. Likewise, this is a very difficult injury for the Miami Dolphins to sustain as they newly acquired the star cornerback after cornerbacks like Xavier Howard underperformed last year. Their cornerback room isn't that deep when you factor Jalen Ramsey's injury out. And because this injury, from my personal perspective, will definitely impact the Saints. Not the Saints. The Dolphins' perspective and outlook for the season. I think that there will be some games lost where if they had Jalen Ramsey, they would have won because he is that good of a player in my eyes still, even if he is that old. The second injury of note is that Joe Burrow last week tweaked his Achilles. It was originally thought that he might miss week 1 against the Browns or week 2 against the Ravens, but that is not the case after a new report came out. According to Bengals Wire, he is no longer moving with a limp. The star quarterback is running through his exercises on the other practice field for the Bengals, so he will be ready and back with the team doing full team drills, I expect, in about 1 to 2 weeks, and he will be most certainly ready for those first couple division games for the Bengals. And obviously for the Bengals, that's a huge win because you have your star quarterback for 2 games that are going to be hotly contested, 2 games that I think are winnable for the Bengals. But still, good news on the Bengals front. And a little notice here: Cooper Kupp for the Los Angeles Rams tweaked his foot, I think, possibly his Achilles, but that should not be too much of a problem. He's already working his way back. He is going to expect to miss about a week of training camp. But that is the injury report for today. Next, we will approach a topic that is nonetheless interesting. The running back market has been slowly devalued and has been made apparent by this stretch of time, this last couple weeks, where multiple running backs have come out and said, and this ties into Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs very much so, and they've said, we deserve more money, we deserve this, we deserve that, and the GM's just saying, frankly, we don't care. And Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts, number 1 in a lot of running back metrics in 2021, was injured a little bit, but that didn't really hamper his results from last season. His results from last season were minimal at best, mid-range running back. So if you take the 2 seasons combined, he's a league above average running back. And he has demanded a trade going into the final year of his rookie deal. And everything was all well and good. And the owner, Jim Irsay of the Indianapolis Colts, says, no, we will not trade him under any circumstances yet. It still remains to be seen whether he will, in fact, be traded or not. If you look at the Colts, in some aspects it makes sense. In some aspects it makes no sense. In some aspects it makes no sense because they have a rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson. You have this at least league above average running back In a lot of people's eyes, he's a lot better than that. I'm just telling you, if you average those his last two seasons, that's where he is. But if so, you have that. You want Anthony Richardson to develop into a great quarterback. So you keep Jonathan Taylor on the team so that he can take the load off of Anthony Richardson, let him develop as a quarterback. That's one of the ways that you help develop a quarterback. Why this makes sense is because you could get a little bit more of a haul than you would for a running back who is a little bit more past his prime. He's in his prime right now. Running backs, you can really replace them very easily. At the rate they're being churned out of the college system. Lots of running backs in college going into the NFL and being second and third stringers that are actually very decent running backs. Case in point, just throwing a name out there, Chase Brown out of Illinois. In college he was a very, very good runner with Illinois. Got hurt in the second to last game of the season, I think, against Michigan, I think it was, and his draft stock falls to the 5th round, and now he's the backup to Joe Mixon in Cincinnati. Point being, there's a lot of great running backs out there that you can plug and play pretty much, and they would be decent. And they could trade Jonathan Taylor for, say, a second and a third, or a third and a fourth, and a player maybe, and really get some good value out of those picks and a player if they so desire. But so that's why or why not he should be traded in my eyes. So it's a little bit of a standoff right now. Jonathan Taylor has not taken back his statement where he has said he would like to be traded. Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, has not taken back what he said. I'm sure they're working something out behind the scenes, but until then, there will probably be nothing coming out. When something does come out about him, you can expect me to report on that pretty quickly. Okay, moving on from the Jonathan Taylor saga, we're going to go into signings, and Quan Alexander, Pro Bowl linebacker, formerly with the Jets, has signed a 1-year deal, which accounts to a little under $2 million with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers revamped their whole linebacker core from last season. They tore it down and built it back up. They were still a little thin. This makes total sense to bring him in for some depth. He can play behind Cole Holcomb, who came in from Washington, and he will see some snaps, definitely. He has looked good in training camp so far. And that makes Cole Holcomb, he'll take a play off in a game situation. He'll take a play off, he'll come back. He's a little bit more rested than he would if he's playing if he's an every down linebacker. And I think this is great for the Steelers because linebacker was very much so a point of weakness, especially on middle linebackers and run stopper linebackers. Not the TJ Watt type of linebacker; he counts as an edge rusher. But anyway, good signing for the Steelers. Another signing, Yannick Ngakoue. I really like that name, by the way. That's a great name. Try and say that 10 times fast. Anyway, defensive end who played last year with the Colts and played with the Saints, I think, to start his career, and played with the Raiders at some point with Max Crosby, has signed a 1-year, $10.5 million deal with the Chicago Bears. In 2022, Yannick Ngakoue had 9.5 sacks with the Colts, and this is a very good signing for the Bears because the Bears in last season had one of the worst pass rush percentage, which is basically saying that they were one of the worst in the league at getting to the quarterback. They were letting the quarterback have too much time, and that results in more points for the opposing offense. So good on the Bears to try and help out their defensive line. I think the contract is a little hefty. I don't think that Yannick Ngakoue is worth $10.5 million. If you could have sold that for $8.5, I would have been much more pleased with that deal on the Bears side of things. But good on the Bears to get a league above average Pro Bowl defensive end. Moving from signings to extensions, Cam Jordan, all pro, all everything, defensive end for the New Orleans Saints, has signed a 2-year extension worth $27.5 million. He is the face of the franchise. This is an awesome move because it keeps him in New Orleans for life. You can bet that Saints fans are going to love that move. He has made 6 straight Pro Bowls, double-digit Pro Bowls in his life. Actually, no, not double-digit, but close to it. His 115.5 sacks ranks 32nd in the NFL history. That's a tidbit I found. And this dude is special. He's been special since he's come out of college in 2011. And this is just great for the Saints. This is a very good deal. Another signing, another extension, Malik Hooker, a safety for the Cowboys who started last season for them, has signed a 3-year, $24 million extension with the Cowboys. This is part of the Cowboys locking up their defense for centuries to come. Play that they've been using. They're loading up to get Micah Parsons, a big old deal, and they already had Diggs get a massive deal, and that I reported on in the last news episode. And I honestly like this play that the Cowboys have been doing, where they're taking all their young defensive studs and they're just signing into long-term contracts. If I can apply this to another sport, in baseball, the Atlanta Braves, as soon as a very good prospect comes up out of the system and they've shown that they can and they've shown that they can be real contributors to the team, they immediately sign them to long-term contracts. And I'd say most of those have worked out by and large. Ronald Acuna, Austin Riley, to name a few. But to put this back into the Cowboys' perspective, it's a little bit different. Obviously, it's two different worlds there with baseball and football. But nonetheless, great deal for the Cowboys. The last piece of news that I've got for you guys. This dropped about a couple hours ago, August 4th, 2023. Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints, running back, formerly star, still star in some eyes, that's up for debate. But he has been suspended for 3 games for an incident in Las Vegas during the 2022 Pro Bowl, and where he fought a dude, kicked the crap out of him in a casino. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty sad to hear that a running back with so much going for him like Alvin Kamara had to go and do that. Really a dumb move for Alvin Kamara. Now he is suspended for 3 games, and those 3 games for the Saints will be playing home against the Titans, at the Panthers, and at the Packers. That's honestly a pretty easy slate of games to lose your star running back for. But nonetheless, it will definitely impact those games, mark my words. It definitely will. And to be honest with you, he is just a very underrated player right now. He's very like Dalvin Cook right now, where he's getting underappreciated, and he has just run for like 1 billion yards last season, and no one really notices him. So, pretty big loss for the first 3 games for the Saints. He does still get to practice in training camp and play in preseason games, I am pretty sure, which is a little bit less of a penalty than I would have given. I mean, if we're being honest, he shouldn't be with the team right now. He should be serving his penalty along with those 3 weeks. Anyway, that is it for the news. Thank you all for watching the NFL Quick Talk podcast. As always, please follow on Spotify. Spotify is great when you are on the go and you need to listen to your NFL news on NFL Quick Talk. And if you got the time, head on over to YouTube. YouTube is great in its own way. You get the slideshow, with the picture slideshow of these great pictures that I have lined up for y'all. I hope that was sarcastic enough. And be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below. I love it when y'all give me the comments. And we'll see you hopefully in the near future for another video.